like stare at the camera and you're like, hello there. You wanna watch my video?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, we've been sat here for probably the last 15 minutes trying to figure out how the fuck to even start one of these things. So here we go. We're just gonna start it and wing it and see how we go.
Yeah,
it's pretty awkward because we know each other quite well, so it is like a well, how do you even start these things? But anyways, I'm Jack and I'm here with my pal Chris.
Yep, and literally, as Jack was just saying, we've just been sitting here trying to find a non-cringe way to start a YouTube video, and we still haven't found one, so we're just gonna start it. Classic. Spooktober.
I'm cracking one up. Aye, pretty spooky season right now. It's dark outside.
It's spooky.
Halloween has been.
Literally, it's Spooktober. Halloween has been, and we're gonna do a Halloween episode of our first ever podcast. So, I
do love a themed episode on you.
You've got to get those themed episodes in. So,
of course.
I've got that little bit of spooky music on in the background. You know, yeah, you have to set the scene a bit, set the mood. So,
try not to get too scared.
Yeah, it could.
I'm cracking open a one.
Getting the bevies out, but it could get a little bit scary at times. So viewer discretion is advised. 100%. You never know what's gonna happen.
You never know. Could have some jump scares on here.
Exactly. So
could have a fucking giant spider jump out and get you or whatever. Never know. Anyways, so in the theme of it being October. Halloween was just yesterday. Actually, it's not even October anymore. What am I on about?
It's definitely not October.
Shit.
Close enough.
It definitely isn't October. But yeah, so Halloween was yesterday. I personally absolutely love Halloween. It's probably one of my favorite holidays, if you want to call it. Because I love everything horror. I love horror movies. I love horror games. All that sort of spooky shit. It's fucking great. So I thought it would be a good idea, just sort of talk about why we like Halloween and just sort of spooky things around that.
Yeah.
Do you usually do much over Halloween?
Honestly, when I was a kid, not that much. I always felt like my parents were never really big on Halloween, to be honest. But I think as I've gotten a little bit older, I've just loved the holiday itself. I just think it's quality. Getting dressed up, just absolutely I'm one of these people who you see some people online, they'll really put loads of effort into having these amazing costumes where the makeup's unreal and shit. I'm someone who just thinks of the most troll random crap I can think of and just putting it on right. And it's just, I think you're probably quite similar in that sense, where it's just just think of something random as and just go with it. Roll with it.
And try and humiliate yourself as much as possible, really, because it's fucking funny, isn't it?
It's the best time of the year to do it as well, though, isn't it? Realistically, it's the one time of the year you can get away with it. You can dress like an idiot. You can let yourself be your true self, So,
you say let yourself be a true self. I don't think some of my costumes really represent who I am. Christ, I was a sexy nun a couple of years ago, and I don't think I'm a sexy nun. I went as Jesus one time, which, to be fair, I do get called Jesus, so I think that one kind of represents me. I'm trying to think what else. I went as I put on a dress a couple of times because
it's exactly representing your true self. You've gotta get down. But I think it's a really cool holiday because I think it's like I said, it's that time of the year where it starts getting a bit dark, a little bit cold outside, and it's just I think the way obviously you get the sweets as well. Unreal. I love Halloween. It's great. I just love the whole vibe and
love cavities.
Yes, I would have liked to have some shit in my room that was kind of spooky, but it's November now, so I would have been a bit weird going outside and be like, oh, you got any pumpkins? No, that shit ain't happening.
Pumpkin. Literally, the best way to start with is just got Danny DeVito there instead.
Yeah,
just have a pumpkin, just whack a cardboard cut out of Danny DeVito, and you're good to go.
I've got the homie Tom Nook. I know you can't see this, Jack, but me and the guy.
I can't see it, but I'm imagining it.
It's the homie Ty. So me and my guy Tom Nook just chilling.
Bros, isn't it?
But we were gonna talk a little bit about sort of the more spooky aspects of the time of year, because obviously with Halloween, I think a lot of stuff, it's been created around it. You always get those scary stories going at this time of year. So
I love a spooky story.
Yeah, so
good stuff. I remember what actually do you actually know what the origin of Halloween is?
No.
Or am I dumb for that?
I have literally no idea. I have
no idea, and I was just as I was thinking of it, I don't think I've ever known that. Should we know that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, Jesus, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out one day. Maybe after this episode, I'll take myself to the Google and we'll find out. But
I'm gonna Google mid-podcast.
yeah, literally, I have no. Yeah,
It just makes me
stop
laugh
typing away.
when everyone dresses up and they all do it, and you get the girls who go out, and it's the only time of the year that can go out pretty much half naked. Well, lads as well, to be fair. I've worn a couple of dresses over Halloween, and what show celebrating. So it could be like, I don't know, some fucking mass murder that happens like decades and decades ago. And we're all going out and getting pissed.
I always think, obviously a little bit of a tangent away from Halloween, obviously, like the whole bonfire night's coming up. And I always think it's hilarious that people celebrate bonfire night as like some bloke trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
I just think it's quality.
Fucking Parliament.
But
We're celebrating a terrorist.
Literally, yeah. So, but no, Halloween, I think it's I just love, like, I know you said before, obviously you're like a really sort of big fan of, every like genre around sort of scary, games, scary movies. Like, I myself, obviously I've never been a massive fan of like sort of scary movies. I was always a massive pussy as a child, and I still am, to be honest. I still am.
I'd say used to.
Yeah, no, I realised as I said that, it was a complete lie. I still am. Honestly, I can't watch them. I can't watch them, and obviously I'll go on later about some of the stuff that I have watched, which is probably considered not scary at all, and I just, honestly, it keeps me awake at night, some of this shit, but, yeah, man, like,
I know exactly what you're going to go for as well.
Yeah, it's honestly, there's so much stuff, but, I just think, like, it's, yeah, I was out, walking the dogs the other day, and we were just it was Halloween, funnily enough. So yesterday, I mean, this probably isn't the 1st of November when it uploads, but it was yesterday, Halloween, and
we're gonna be a few days out, like.
Yeah, like literally walking around with the dogs, and I forgot. I honestly forgot it was Halloween. Like, I don't know why, I just forgot. And I was walking around the woods, and obviously everywhere's orange. All the pine needles are on the floor and stuff. And it's quite a nice,
It looks nice.
A nice place, and it was sort of like dusky. It was starting to get a little bit dark, right? And I was like, okay. So, it's a bit creepy when you're in the woods anyway. And all of a sudden, like,
woods on your own.
Yeah, literally, like, one of the dogs started like running up ahead and just stopping periodically and just staring into the distance. And I was like,
Nah.
I was like, stop that now. Cut it out. I don't want to have to be dealing with this all the way. And like consistently throughout nearly the whole of the walk, he just kept doing that the entire time. And I was like, like as you slowly start picking up your pace through the woods, I'm like, I'm getting out of here, mate. It's like, the fuck, like,
stop fucking
it's
running.
like as you start, it's like, oh shit, it's Halloween. You start hearing like the trees creak, and I'm just like, no.
That's it, isn't it? Any other day, you'd probably be fine, but you're like, oh, it's Halloween, it's fucking dark outside. Any little thing, you're going to be like, there's a ghost, or there's someone trying to kill me.
Yeah.
It's like, it sounds daft, but everyone does it, don't they?
No,
it's like little things you pick up on.
No, but
it's just the most simple task, though, but
yeah.
makes you shit yourself.
Funny enough, though, as well, like, on that very same dog walk, right?
Ooh,
this is the haunted walk of Halloween. I live very close to a abandoned hospital, which is kind of like ironic because, like, we're talking about scary things. And pretty much this place is quite renowned. It was Prada Hospital, and it essentially it was like a mental hospital back in like the early 1900s. So probably some like really sketchy shit went on in there. It's probably a real horrible place.
Went on in those walls.
Yeah, literally.
Ooh,
So I always like really. They've started tearing it all down now. Essentially, like building new houses over it, and like again, regardless, I would never buy a house anywhere around there. Like, God no, get me away from that shit. But
you're just asking to be the protagonist of a horror film.
Yeah, literally. And like, there was a couple of times again as a kid, you would go down there, you'd maybe go into the abandoned buildings, and it was freaky as shit. I would never like ever be seen dead anywhere near there. But when it was dark outside, like not a chance. But as I was
great to explore.
Yeah, like, as I was on this dog walk, right? Like, as we get close, because, like, this is where the woods are, essentially. It's relatively near the abandoned hospital. And, as you get close to the abandoned hospital, I just hear someone singing. And I'm like, what the shit is going on right now? I was like, why the hell is someone singing? And it was kind of like, it was far enough away where I couldn't really make out what it was that they were singing. But it was like a girl's, it sounded like a young girl's voice.
Of course it was. Fucking nursery rhymes.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I was like, oh no. And I think as I got closer, I realized that they were actually singing "Let It Go" from Frozen. But
it was me.
But it could have, it could have been you. But honestly, I swear that period when I just heard someone singing, I was at the hospital, and I was like, literally, this is freaking me out, man. Like, get me out of these woods.
You put 2 and 2 together, don't you? You always put 2 and 2 together, and then it has to be bad, and it's always a little girl, and it's always fucking nursery rhymes, and you're 100%. Like, nah, I'm out. I wouldn't be going close to that. Like.
Yeah, literally. But they were only singing "Let It Go" from Frozen, so it was fine. I was safe. I've made it back.
I think I'd rather have a ghost, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let it go.
That is
rather
true.
A little ghost.
That is true.
Adds a bit of thrill to it. No, but like on the back of what you're saying about like abandoned buildings and that, it's not always the haunted and like the sort of paranormal and the ghost side of it that's scary. It's not knowing what's there. So like I've been in a few abandoned buildings where we've just been exploring, like me and the lads. And there's a couple in Newcastle where I live. That there was like the old, I think it was like an old lead mill or something. That we used to go on quite a bit, and it was a bit shit. It was just a big old abandoned building, and it didn't have much, but it was a really deep building.
Yeah.
And it was all like locked off yard crime. Do you know the Metal Radio Arena?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like right next to there.
All right.
It's in like this sort of wasteland. It's a bit out the way, so when you're there, you can you don't see anything else, but it's really cool. So we used to like climb under the fence now and would go up and we'd start exploring. And it's that fact that it's always going to be the creep factor, because as soon as it starts getting dark, it's the fact that you don't know what's around the corner, and like you say yourself, any sort of like noise or footstep, it's probably you and your mates, you instantly think it's like a fucking ghost or a man or a woman trying to fucking kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, literally. And it is that you'd be walking around, you got your flashlight, and you're like, oh, what's that? Like, you shine it all over the place. And let's be real, it's probably nothing. It's probably a pigeon or something. But it's always that fear of the unknown. Getting jump scared by like pigeons and that. But no, I loved back in the day, like just trekking around different abandoned buildings. There was another one, which I think it was an old hospital. I don't remember, and it was really destroyed, and it was cool. But it was the same crap where it's like a lot of people my age back at the time. It was when I was young. It was probably like when I was like 15, 16. So you know, group of little kids, you get scared easily.
Yeah.
And it would be like you're exploring this building, and it's usually groups of people your own age that are doing the same thing, but you always just scare each other because you instantly think it's like a ghost or something, which I always found was quite funny.
Yeah, no, I like, honestly, like I said, like abandoned buildings, like I said, when you're at that age, it's something, oh, you know, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
I'm just, I said, nah, man, nah. Like, honestly,
Never
like I said,
you, like...
my very low like sample size of watching horror movies, I like no, it's like if you see an abandoned building, you just don't go in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just logical. Like, why would you do that for? But no, I know what you mean. Like, you know, I myself have like done it, you know, and I usually always regret it very quickly. But it's
the curiosity, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I do agree with what you said before about the whole unknown sort of thing. You know, I think it's definitely. I don't know. I just, like I said, honestly, like I've always just been like just shit scared of literally everything. Like, honestly, I used to work at like a supermarket near where I live, and I remember like I usually finished quite late, like probably about like 10, half 10, and I always used to like walk. Dark, so it was always nearly always dark.
Yeah.
And like I just remember like the walks up from there, like there was like there's a statue like on a house on the way up.
Here we go.
Yeah, and like it was just, I don't know what it was, it always freaked me right out. So I always used to like whenever I would walk past it, I would just be like instantly from like, you know, just a normal like walking pace, I'd be like, you know, really sort of like paced going hoo. Like, I'm getting past it. I don't know why, it was literally a statue. I was like, what's it gonna do?
You turn into like a marching stormtrooper, like.
Yeah. So, you know, like dad running, where you're like, you're not actually running, but you're sort of like, just, you know, you really get the pace going. It's like,
you look like a fucking tit though.
Anyone who was like driving at the side of the road saw me doing that, were like, what is wrong with him? Like, he's got issues.
The man march with like a stick, weird things in the hands like that.
But yeah, honestly, I've just always with everything. I've just always been a massive bitch when it comes to like like just said like horror in general. Like it's you know, I mean, I'll go on and like talk about one of my, you know, my stories about, you know, this the extent of my like sort of spookiness, right? Like essentially, as a kid, I never really watched horror movies. I'm trying to even think off the top of my head if I ever really watched a proper horror movie, and I honestly
You've got to have a couple that you've watched and thought that was good. Surely.
Honestly, not really. Because like that's the thing is that like it's now I think there's a big difference between like thrillers and like horror.
Oh yeah.
I think there's like a really sort of big because like you can still see a scary movie, or at least what I would consider a scary movie. So I remember I watched. I mean, this is again like going on a tangent, but I watched A Quiet Place recently, right? And like that's a bit of a bit of a jumpy movie. I enjoyed that.
I would agree that is a horror. Like
I enjoyed
it's
that.
a horror thriller. You're right.
It was good,
but it's the fear of silence, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I love that film. It was one of the better films of I think it was 2018.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was brilliant.
I really enjoyed that. I thought it was good. But again, like that was more recently when, like, you know, I think I'm finally getting over my sort of fear of literally anything. But as a kid, like,
your half your life to get over it.
Yeah, as a kid, like, I would literally never watch anything. It was always something which I was like, look, I know that shit's gonna give me nightmares. I ain't watching it. No, sir. Get that away from me, sort of thing. It's like, what's the point? What's the point? I'd like put on a Disney movie, man. Put on Spider-Man.
You're one of those.
You know, like
one of those.
get that on. But like yeah, I remember watching like, and you know, I've told so many people about this. I know I watched Doctor Who as a kid, as I'm sure a lot of other people did.
I've watched Doctor Who.
Right?
Doctor Who.
And honestly, like I generally thought it was good. You know, I never really got freaked out by many of the episodes, even though like some of them were pretty spooky. But I always remember the Weeping Angels episode, and like that shit, like honestly scarred me for so many, even to this day. And I know you were thinking it when I said the statue, right? Coming up from the supermarket, right? Honestly, it might be a reason why, but the Weeping Angels episode of Doctor Who, and anyone who's seen it probably knows what I'm talking about. I don't know. It scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like, it was the whole concept of like, again, it's the unknown. So when you're sleeping and you close your eyes and you're like, instantly the thoughts are in your head. Like, what is going on right now? What's around me? Now you
stare at the ceiling for 6 hours trying to get to sleep.
Yeah, literally, like not wanting to close your eyes, and those angels, man, like they didn't even kill you or anything. They just sent you back in time or some shit. It was like proper, like just.
I think that's probably worse, to be honest.
Yeah, well, true. Probably that would be quite scary. Maybe that was what scared me. I don't know.
I get what you mean, because like Doctor Who, it is for kids, and you know what I mean. Like it's one of those shows where it's like a lot of adults and like teenagers watched it and still do, even though in my opinion it's pretty shit now. But it was aimed mainly at kids. So it's like you're watching the episodes, and they had like the supernatural bits to it. It had like some creepiness, and there was always like the monsters and the alien side. But it was still usually that sort of like family sort of, the doctor just saves the day, blah blah blah. That episode was a proper game changer. Like there was two that spring to mind for me. It was that one, the Weeping Angels, which I think is probably one of the best Doctor Who episodes. Fucking brilliant. And it was the whole like the found footage parts of it, where it's like, with David Tennant on the screen, he's like, do not blink, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, this is good.
100%.
And I understand why it scared people. And another one, which was quite similar, well, not similar, but like another thing where it's like, for kids. But
I think I know what you're going to say here. Honestly, I think I know what you're going to say, but go on, tell us.
It was the gas mask.
I literally knew it. I knew it because that was the other one. I watched. That was a two-parter. I remember. That was a two-parter. Watched the first one. Didn't watch the second one. No siree. First one was enough for me. I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to watch the second episode. But no, that was.
You missed out on.
That was scary as hell as well. And it was
like
just
knocking at the door, and it was just like, "Are you my mummy?" No. And it's just like, it's those things where it's like, "Fucking hell, this is like a horror film." So I do get that.
Yeah,
I still think you're a massive fanny.
Yes,
but I do get it.
I agree. I'm not someone to sort of deny the fact that I'm not a massive bitch when it comes to the horror genre. But like, honestly, like that is a kid for me was like my sort of like the extent of how far I would go. Because it was just like it was like I said, it would just like freak me the shit out about like literally everything. But yeah.
It's an interesting one because, like, you say that, and I take the piss out of you calling you fanny, which I still stand by. But I was quite similar back when I was really young. So I would probably say now horror done right. I want to put this out there because horror done wrong is probably the fucking funniest thing ever. But horror done right is probably like my favorite genre in game, probably my favorite genre in film as well. I love it. But back when I was younger, and probably around the time when, like, you know, the Weekman Angels shit was, I would never watch horror. And I've got a couple of funny stories similar to you, where, like, to the extent of if a horror advert would come on the telly when I was watching something, I would have to leave the room or try and fast forward it because I couldn't hack it. It used to just, I'd hate them. And I don't know why, because I don't scare. Like, now I'm very different. I don't scare very easily. So I watch a lot of horror films. Like, I'm constantly, like, my dad always takes a piss out of me. I'll go to bed. It'll be about 3 a.m, and I'll be like, "Ooh, what's the most fucked up horror film I can find and watch on my own in bed in the complete darkness, and then just go to sleep afterwards?" And he always winds me up being like, "Oh no, you're fucking tapped, you mate."
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, but like, it's mad to think, like, back when I was younger, like I say, I couldn't even watch the trailers, and I remember one of them really, really clearly. And I've seen the film now, and it wasn't even good. But I went to the cinema with the father, and we went to go see Sherlock Holmes. You know, with like what's he called?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. So I went to go see that film, which, all right film, I guess. And it was, I think it was like a 12A or something. So it wasn't even like, you know, an adult film. And I was sitting in the trailers. And I used to love movie trailers. Like, I used to always want to go dead early, watch all the trailers. You know, I've got my popcorn, like, right, so what trailers are coming out. But if it was a horror film, I'd be fucked, and I'd just shit myself. And a trailer came on for I don't know if you've heard it or seen it. It was called The Crazies.
And it doesn't ring a bell, but
it's not that well known, and to be honest, I've seen it now. It's really not that good. But the trailer was actually quite a well-made trailer. It had, you know, Mad World, that song.
Yeah.
You know, which was a great song, but it was like a slowed down piano bit where it was like quite creepy, and it was like, oh shit. And the film was about, if I remember it properly, a virus that went around that kind of made people like into these sort of zombie-like people, but not zombies where they're like, you know, ripping like brain dead. They were like normal people. They kind of turned them into like almost like mentally unstable people. So like adults were like acting like kids and shit like that, and they would just try and kill you. And the trailer was just like, I remember this one bit, and it wasn't even scary, but it was a mom who was, well, sorry, it was more like a grandma. She was quite old, and she was like on like a little tricycle, just like circling around and around, and it was singing to like that Mad World like piano, and it just scared the shit out of me. And I remember watching it in the cinema, just like, I'm like, Dad, man, this is horrible. So I was quite similar when I was younger to you in that sense, where I couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
And I guess one day I was just like, you know what, fuck it, let's watch a horror. Oh, this is good. You know what I mean? I don't know what to change.
Yeah, no, Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, like, similar to, like, I always remember, like, you know, after 9 o'clock, after, like, the watershed on the TV, that's when you would start getting your horror trailers, and, you know, and I just remember, you know, I'd be watching something just casually on the telly, and, like, all of a sudden it'd be, like, a trailer for, like, Sinister or something, and I'd be like, what? No!
Yeah.
Get it off!
No, turn it off!
I'm leaving.
I want me cartoons back!
Yeah, literally. Let us watch Phineas and Ferb, man, how
I do get it, and I went to the extent of like, I'm proper exposing myself here. I used to be back in, like, I'm talking like primary school days, and I wasn't that young. I was still like probably like maybe 12, which is young, but it's, you know what I mean. It's not like I'm a 6-year-old getting scared, which is fair enough. But you know, so I went to my mate's house, and she lived near me, and she went to my primary school, and there was like 4 of us went over, and I remember this so well as well because I look back and I think, holy fuck, I was a bitch. And we're in our bedroom, and it was like me and a couple of my pals, and then her, and she was like, let's watch a film, and we're like, yeah, and they were like, ooh, let's put Paranormal Activity on, and I was like, no, I am not watching Paranormal Activity, fuck that. Like, nah. And they were like, come on. So I don't even think they put the film on. I think in the end, they just put the trailer on, and I refused. So what I did is, I fuck knows where this logic came from. I didn't want to be in the room whilst it was going on. I didn't want to hear the film. So I went and stood in the door for it. Like out, I closed the door and I stood in the hallway and just stared at a wall. And I was like, I'm not going back in until the film's off. And I remember it so clearly because, you know what I mean? And a man being like, oh, you all right, Jack? And I'm just like, nah, I'm just scared of the
Just
film.
like staring at the door, like, nah, like I'm not watching that. I'm not watching Paranormal Activity. Like, not that. No.
It do be like that. It do be like that.
No, yeah, do be. I literally know. It's actually funny how like I went round to one of my friends' house for Halloween. I think I was probably around about like 11 or 12, and like I was still really good mates with this guy now, and he loves the horror genre. He literally, like, honestly, like if we were having guests, if this was actually a thing that was up and running, I would have got him on because he like knows so much about like horror in general. And like I remember I went around to his house, I think I was 12, 13, they were watching like loads of 80. I like just thought we were just going around just to chill. And I got there and he had like 18 movies and I can't even remember what they were. And I was like no, I was like, time to go home. So I literally went for like half an hour and just went home afterwards because I was like, I'm not watching this. Because obviously I was like, you know, you aren't gonna watch that, or you just stop watching that and watch what I want to watch. Yeah. But
stop, no, man. Yeah, no, do it, man. Please,
yeah, like,
turn it off.
Really similar though. Like sort of, I've always kind of been like, nah. But like I said, I think I'm getting better. You know, I'm only 24 years of age, and you know, I'm starting to watch some more spooky stuff.
Maybe I'll have to give you some recommendations because I could talk all day about horror.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might have to. Even like,
I think. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think I'm like into like I don't mind thrillers. I quite like the like thrillers. I like the idea of like suspense and stuff. Yeah. And don't mind jump scares here and there. I've never been a big fan of like gory shit. Like I remember when I first started seeing my girlfriend. Her mum is like really into horror. She really likes horror movies. And like I remember being round in her house and I was always like, nah, I don't like horror movies. And she was like, oh no, we'll watch one. And I was like, kind of like, you know, I didn't want to be rude.
It's
I was
not
like,
bad, trust me.
Yeah, but literally, right? And I can't remember what the movie was called. You might know it from describing it. It was essentially like some like guys like go across Europe backpacking, and then like they get like some like asylum or something, and they get like this kid's head gets chopped off, and like they get tortured and
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. But like it was, maybe it was called Asylum.
Hostel.
Yeah, Hostel. Hostel.
Yeah,
right?
Hostel. Well, that's just straight up torture porn. That like
so
technically all horror, but that's just for the gore and shock factor in it.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the shit am I watching? Like, I was watching that. I was just like, this. I was like, what is?
The Achilles heel slit, doesn't he?
Yeah, you know, it was just like, that's literally probably the only one I've ever seen, to be honest. Like, I've seen like clips from stuff like Saw and like you know, like
that's the most famous one, isn't it?
Yeah, other movies of like the same sort of like, you know, genre. And it's not my thing.
It's called torture porn.
Yeah.
And it sounds a lot worse than it is, because like when you think of torture porn, you think of like people getting off to it, but it's not. But like, I get why you wouldn't like it, but there are some really good examples where you watch it and you think that was really over the top gory. It was quite disgusting, but it was very good. And if it all connects to that, and if it's a well-made film with the over the top gore, I think that's probably one of my favorite types of film. Where you've got like the likes of Saw. I think Saw is fun. And I think Saw, the first film, was brilliant, considering it was just a student project. Like, even before the first film, the student project that he won the award for, you should watch that. It's great. It's got nothing to do with the gore. It's just the psychological, like, how did I get here? What do I do? It's really well made. And then obviously that set up for the pilot. That was the pilot. So then that set it up for the actual first film, which is a great film.
Yeah.
After that, they do get more into the whole, let's just shock everyone by being like, well, how much gore can we do? And I enjoyed them, the majority of the films. Like 2 is really good, because it goes with that survival sort of shit as well. 3 is probably one of my favorites, unpopular opinion, just because it's over the top gore. It's got an okay story, but it's fun. And then after that, they kind of do just lean to the more like, how like, what's the most fucked up thing we can get away with? You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're fun. And I'll watch it, and you just watch it for the shock value. Like, Christ, like a man like sticking a pen into his neck so he doesn't drown,
Yeah.
and shit like that. And
I think I've
it's
seen
really
that. Funnily
going on,
enough, I think I've seen that. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
So
again,
it's not a good film, but like it is fun.
I think it's something which I don't think I'll ever be convinced to like. But like anyway,
Yeah.
Getting away from movies a bit. I know you mentioned like obviously like you into games and stuff.
Got a
Like
bit of a tangent.
yeah, like with like games. Obviously, I know obviously me and you are both like at video games. Like I quite enjoy watching horror playthroughs of video games, like seeing other people play video games. Like I don't know, have you ever played Outlast?
Oh, Outlast is one of my favorite horror games ever.
So I've never played on it ever. I've watched several playthroughs of different people playing on it, and I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I love
just not for you.
Yeah, because it's like it was like the matter of like I would like watch it like not full screen, like in the window, and I'd just be able to enjoy watching people shit themselves and like
you know watching the window.
I'm not watching it like full screen, like no sir. But like I always like really I enjoyed like I said that I was saying like pretty much for me like horror game I remember getting Slender Man when it came out. Like obviously like there was a big craze on my playing Slender Man.
That was a throwback.
And I don't have no idea when that came out, but I remember obviously everyone was playing it at the time.
7, wasn't it?
Something like that. I mean, like I was saying earlier, you know, it was essentially, I think it was in a WinRAR file. That's how like old it was. It was before you had any sort of like, yeah, it could have been a virus that destroyed my whole computer. But you know, obviously, no, I want to play Slender Man. I want to see what it's like.
I mean, it's worth it. Like. Of course, it's worth it.
Yeah, and like I think that to me was scary enough. You know, I remember just like casually just you load in, you're in a dark forest.
It's a scary game.
You got a flashlight and you're like, you know, let's go find some book pages or something. I don't know what it was. It was something like that. You know, you walk around and then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh shit, what the fuck is that? The fuck is that? And
some
I just
nonsense chasing you.
Yeah, like as it would progress, and you just like, you know, that was scary enough for me in all honesty. Because I don't know what I find scarier, like movies or games. Like I don't know if you've got an opinion on it, because like.
Games.
You think games are like worse to like is like a fright factor like stick in your mind? You think games are worse?
So yeah, sorry, something I will sort that out in the editing. Yeah, so you said, do I think movies or games are scary?
Yeah.
Basically. I am very strongly opinionated in the fact that games are scarier because in my thoughts, I've watched a fuckload of horror films, I've played a fuckload of games, but. You've got to put it this way, if I'm watching a horror film and I get scared, which, you know, it takes quite a bit to scare us, but, like, you know, they will still scare me. All I have to do is watch the screen and it plays out on its own. If I'm playing a game and I get really scared, I'm in control of my character. Do you know what I mean? So if I just panic and do nothing, I'm fucked and I've got to do it again until I get it right.
Yeah.
So, like, Outlast is the perfect example. It's a game where you can't fight back against the people. So... a lot of chase scenes where you're just running and hiding. That is scary because if you don't do anything, that's it, game over. So, like, for example, there's a scene in maybe I want to say Outlast 1 was better than 2 because 2, I know a lot of people didn't like it as much. I love 2 just as much. I think it's brilliant, and the whole like it's all about a religious cult, and it's really fucked up. Like, there's a room where you go in and it's just full of dead babies, and it's like fucking hell. But like, there's a scene in that section in that game. Where I remember it really well because I played through it a couple of times. Where spoilers for Outlast 2, where it's like it's all about like the Christianity and like cults and like religion, and it's like the blood moon was happening or something. It's like raining blood, so everything looks red. It's like blood everywhere, and you're running through like an old sawmill, and you're getting chased by loads of these different monsters, and you've got to hide. But it's the fact that a lot of the time you can't see, you can just hear things coming for you. And there's a full chase scene after that where you're running and they're barging through walls, they're trying to grab you. And if you stop for a second, you get grabbed and you're dead, and you've got to do it again. So you're running and the stress levels are so high, it really is intense. And the sound design, you know what I mean? It's got intense music, it's got the jump scares still. So I love that. And once a game does that, in the moment, I'm like, fuck. But then afterwards, I'll look at that and be like, that was brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas in a film, it can happen, and it definitely does. Like, there's loads of scenes in films that have got me, and I'm like, shit. Like, where you're watching it and you're like, that was terrifying. Like, an example, Hereditary, which came out, was it 2 years ago? Is genuinely probably one of the best films I've seen in modern cinema. It's fucking insane. And there's a certain scene in that where, like, without spoilers, but it's very shocking, and a girl gets her head taken off, and it felt real. And you're watching it, and I remember looking at my mate in the cinema, being like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like that was Britain. We both did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But all we had to do was watch.
Yeah, you
We
weren't in
don't
control of
partake in
anything.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't find horror films hard to watch because I just have to sit back, relax, have a drink, eat me popcorn, and enjoy. Whereas
Yeah.
a game, like I say, you put it down, you're fucked. So that's what I think on that.
Yeah, no, I do know what you mean. I definitely, like I said, I mean, like, personally, I can't really relate much because, you know, I haven't really watched many horror movies.
Yeah.
Haven't really played many horror games, but, no, I do know what you mean. I think it's definitely, like, a level of control, isn't it? You know, you don't really have, like, you just sit back, you just
Yeah.
let it play out, whereas in the video game, you are the person who's getting chased, you are the person who's,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you know, people are jumping out at, so, yeah, I can definitely understand why that would be a bit more frightening. But yeah, anyway.
Take it a step further, put it in VR.
Yeah, I mean, like, no, like, that's
I've played some VR horror games, and they're fucking scary.
yeah, no, I definitely couldn't deal with that. But yeah, we'll go into like any like sort of like personal experiences of like sort of scary shit things. I know we've talked a lot about like sort of cinema and TV
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So we'll go on like personal experiences about like spooky stuff. I know obviously I briefly talked about, you know, taking the dogs for a walk, but actual stuff that, you know, I know you've got a couple of things. I know I've probably got like just
Yeah.
not major things, but you
Things
know,
you can't really explain. Or,
Yeah. yeah. So I'll let you start if you want after you've had a little bit of a. What are you drinking, Heineken?
I'm having a nice Heineken. I am. I've got it in my nice gated rugby club glass.
I've got
It's very refreshing.
I've got a nice glass of water. So yeah.
Ooh, you bad boy. I think eventually, like, what? Because really, like, bit of a tangent. We've had this idea. We want to do a podcast because we both are fucking gobshites and we chat for England. And we just thought it'd be a bit of fun. We're good pals. Have a bit of banter between ourselves. But what we want to do is we want to do it in the sense of like kind of have like you're in the same room and you've got like cool things around you, and it's like just us having a laugh, chatting with you, almost like a pub environment. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
people can come have a drink with us. But obviously, you know, there's a little thing called a global pandemic going on right now. So we are doing it right now through this, and I think it's going all right. But eventually, we do plan on like doing it together, where we maybe have a drink.
Yeah. For sure.
Drunk me can talk even more than sober me, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. So yeah, so we do plan on doing that. But no, so anyways, that was a bit of a tangent. So spookiness. So
Spookiness.
I want to lead this one with a different approach to like horror. So you've got your ghosts, your demons, your zombies, all those sort of stuff, and that's like, you know, it's stereotypical horror, and it's pretty good and it's pretty scary. But I think one of the things that scares me the most personally is things that it's like dreams, like nightmares, sleep paralysis, all that stuff. That scares me, and I've mentioned this to a lot of people that know me. I get sleep paralysis quite a bit, and to be fair, I probably don't help myself by watching all the horror films at 4 a.m. and drink a lot and basically give myself insomnia. But I've had quite a few occasions of sleep paralysis, and it's fucking scary. So like, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say like help. Yeah. I mean like keep going, man. I was just agreeing. I was like, yeah, I can imagine it's fucking scary. Jesus.
Yeah, man. So if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, it's essentially you've got your REM, so your rapid eye movement section of sleeping, where obviously you go to sleep, and that's when dreams happen. And Christ, I'm probably chatting a lot of shit here, and I'm probably saying it wrong.
Well, actually, psychology says.
Well, if I read on my notes, so I'm probably a bit wrong, but you know, I know basics, and that's when like your eyes are kind of like at its most. So it's when you're falling into a deep sleep. It's that passage between it, and you can go in this thing called sleep paralysis, where it's essentially you're in a dream, well, lucid dreaming as well. It's not just sleep paralysis. Excuse me, but it's where you're in a dream, so you're dreaming, but your brain is aware you're in a dream. And it's so odd to think about it. So you'll be in bed dreaming, but you're like, shit, I'm dreaming. So it'd be lucid. When it's a lucid dream, it's great, and it's like you can control your dreams, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
I haven't managed to do that. I can't really do that myself.
Don't have that mental control.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm mentally fucked, mate. Um, so I can't do that. But like, there's then the sleep paralysis, which is the nightmare version of lucid dreaming, and so that I get quite often actually. I got quite bad through lockdown 1 because stress can cause it as well, and I didn't cope too well through being trapped indoors a lot.
Yeah.
So I was stressed a lot, and I'd go to bed and I'd have these sleep paralysis where you're paralyzed in bed, but you're in a dream, but you're also aware you're in a dream, so you're awake, but also asleep.
Oh.
So you're locked in place, and I've got loads of stories where it's like I'll be locked and I'm just stuck in the scene and you can't move, and shit happens, and there's a few of them. So like one of like a couple like my most scariest ones were like, you know, I've got my bed there, so I've described the room, got my bed there, you know, I've got my head at the back, and I've got my door like off camera like there.
Yeah.
And I sleep on like my sides and that, but like sometimes you're supposed to get it more if you sleep on your back. And I was like facing the door, but kind of like down like that, so like I could kind of only see the bottom half of the door. And I remember this one really well, and it just really it still creeps me out. My door like creaked open a bit, and obviously you can't move, and I can hear things, and it's pitch black, but I can still see. And all of a sudden I hear like loads of like kind of like pitter patter footsteps of like almost like loads of invisible children were running into my room.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Nah, it's a nope thing. And you'll be and I'm looking and I just can't move, and I'm just staring, and I can see shadows moving towards me, and I can't really see what's going on, but you know when you get the feeling something's like kind of standing over you and like really close to you. Yeah, I get that. So I hear all this like moving around my room, and I feel just like someone is standing at the end of my bed, like looking at me like that, and I can't move. So you're trying to move, you're trying to scream, and you can't, and you've just got to try and wake yourself up. And when you wake yourself up, you're sitting there like, that was really scary. And that to me is like the scariest type of experience, because you can't control it. You're paralyzed, but you know it's happening, but you still think it's you know what I mean? It's horrible. And I've had loads of experiences through that. And once that's happened to me, I struggle getting back to sleep, because I'm scared to go back to sleep.
Well, it's
do you know
like,
what I mean?
I think the thing which sounds so scary about that is like I've never like had that experience myself, but it's the whole fact that like in a dream, like sometimes you remember them, sometimes you don't, and obviously like ones that you do remember, it is always usually kind of like shit, like that was scary, man, and you are kind of conscious of it, but you can't get back to sleep most of the time. Whereas with sleep paralysis, it's like where that dream happened, it's your own surroundings that you're still in.
Yeah.
So you're still in the same bed that you thought someone was like standing, watching over you, and like coming in. I know you can't hear this,
so
but
I still feel like they're there.
I know you can't hear this, but I feel like I have to play it because I was having a good laugh earlier.
Who is that knocking at my door?
Like that's literally you in bed, just like unable to move. Who's that knocking at my door? You know, who knows?
Oh, you got that one. Like, who's that knocking at my door?
I was gonna play it as you were talking, but you know, I thought your story was good. So, but no, like sleep paralysis. Like I do hear, you know, like obviously people with that like sleep paralysis demons, and you know, like seeing these sort of like things coming towards them, and like, I would like freak out, man.
Awful.
I'm glad I've never had it, and I don't really like talking about it because I'm like shit. I'm like, I hope it doesn't start happening.
You're gonna go to bed and have it.
Chilling in my bed, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a weeping angel just chilling in my doorway. I'd be like, nah, see you later. I'm out the window. I wouldn't. Yeah, literally.
Approximate.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, man, stop it. But yeah, like
it is weird because it happens, and like you hear all the sleep paralysis demon. Mine are always shadows. So it's not, I never see a person or see a thing. It's just shadows, and I always know I'm going into it because and I thought there was something wrong with my fucking brain at one point, because when I know I'm going into it, because I get like a head rush. Yeah. And I had to Google this, and that's the thing, like really heavy head rush when I'm falling asleep, and that's when I know I'm going into either like a lucid dream or sleep paralysis. And what I also get is when I know I'm fully into it, I get a really hard pushing feeling on my chest, like down on me, and it's odd. You know what I mean? It feels really heavy, and I get that thing with my head, and then I'm like, that's it. I know I'm asleep now, and that's really scary. So it's just like, holy fuck, what's going on here? I thought I had like brain damage or something at first. But then, and there's been ones where like I've got, and you obviously know this, but I've got a massive phobia of needles. Really scared of needles. veins creep me out, and it's just that do not like that. It makes a squeezy thought about it. And I remember another one, and I'll get off this tangent in a minute, but it was a similar thing. I was stuck on my back. I'm like looking at the ceiling, and a big shadow comes over me, and it's just kind of like looking over me. It has like no face, not even body. It's almost just like a big grey orb, and it's just there. And again, you feel it's present, and I'm just looking at it, and all of a sudden, it had like it wasn't a needle, because again, I couldn't see the object or anything, but it had like a sort of like that sensation into my chest, and then really hard pressing down on me, and I couldn't move. I just had to stare at it, and then I woke up, and then I'm like, you know what I mean, in bed, and
you're looking around, and you're like, what? Oh, like, gosh, like, nah.
Like you wake up and you're looking, and I'm like, that was there, that was in front of me, right there.
Yeah.
I don't want my eyesight to leave that spot now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, fuck that.
I'm bad enough when like I'm just chilling in bed and I'm getting to sleep, and then all of a sudden like something will just like randomly creak in my room, and I'm like, what the fuck's that? What the fuck's that? But no,
get me room.
Yeah, literally. But no, like I said, like I've never had like a sleep paralysis experience. I hope I never do. But like talking about like my own like sort of like ideas of, you know, just being like really like stupidly scared of stuff as a kid, especially. I was like so superstitious as a kid, like when it came to like sort of like try and not to like have, and because I used to have so many nightmares as a kid. I used to be like, honestly, the worst things. I barely slept all the time, and I had to come up with so many sort of like mental things that would stop me from having them. And like literally, I remember there was so many like just stupid things. So I remember as a kid, obviously got a bath, you know, on a night, and I always remember it was I always remember, obviously baths are designed in a certain way where you can get into the bath, right? So there's a side where you meant to have there's a side you meant to have your head out though, right? You know what I mean? Because like usually one side's quite pretty horizontal, and the other side's like kind of like slanted.
Or it's like that.
Yeah. Right. So I remember as a kid, for some reason, I had it in my head that if I got into the bath the correct way.
Slept.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you shouldn't be sleeping in baths, kids. Don't do that. It's very bad. When I got into the bath, I would need to be the other way around, because if I got into the bath the right way around, I would end up having a nightmare. And literally, I don't know where I got that from. To this day, to this day, right? I don't know where I got that from. No idea. And I had so many other things like that.
I have no idea.
It was like I had one where I remember I had these like old sofas downstairs, and like I never used to sit on one of them ever, because it was like, nah, that chair is like, there's something wrong with that chair. That's gonna make me have a dream at night about some like giant horrible thing coming to get me.
It's a giant chair coming to get you.
Yeah, literally.
Get
and like
by a fucking recliner chair.
Yeah, and then the other thing was like, again, as a kid, I used to sleep in the room that's not my room now. It's like literally the one on the other side of this wall behind me, and I used to always hate. It was like hard up against the wall, my bed, like along adjacent to the wall rather than coming out. And I used to always hate looking at the wall, and I think that was it was like away from the door. So I used to always like to be able to like that makes more sense than the other two. That's all I'm saying. Like that makes more like logical sense, right?
Make you sound like you belong in that abandoned mental hospital that you live in.
Well,
what the fuck, Proxy? I get the sleeping away from the wall. It doesn't bother me, but like. I'll let you continue a second. Sorry, I'm talking over you again.
It's fine.
If I have a sleep paralysis and I'm facing a wall, it's a hell of a lot worse not seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
So like I do get that, because you kind of want, like, even if just like some random bloke he decided to rob your house and he's just watching you sleep because he might get off to it. I'm not going to kink shame anyone. I don't know, because you're asleep, it doesn't matter, but you still want the idea of, if you wake up, you can see your door, you can see what's going on. If you wake up and facing a wall, you're kind of fucked. So I do get that one. I do understand it.
No, but like, yeah, I was just so like superstitious as a kid. You know, it was always like your classic stuff as well. You know, checking under your bed, making sure there's no like sort of like giant like funny enough, right? I don't know if you've, again, this is a little bit going off about like people staying under people's beds. Have you seen Luther, the TV show? Luther.
I haven't.
If you have, right? Anyway,
I've been
it's really good. It's really good. Idris Elba.
Hang on, Luther. That's one about devil, isn't it?
No, that's Lucifer. Luther's the one with, do you know Idris Elba, yeah? It's close enough,
Which
you know what I
one?
mean. It's called Luther. It's Idris Elba is the main actor. You know who Idris Elba is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, regardless, he's like
alive.
yeah, he's like a police detective essentially, but he's like kind of a bit sketchy. And I always remember there was this one episode. Again, it was going back to TV, but like there's a guy that just essentially camps underneath this lady's bed until she falls asleep. And then he gets up and he just kills her. And like that, I remember watching that because I remember when that came out, I was like 13, and I was like, yeah, I gotta check under the bed. I gotta check under the bed just in case. You never know.
No murderers tonight.
Yeah, literally. So, but anyway, going back to what I was talking about.
that one as well, though.
I suppose it kind of makes sense because it's like, I mean, the bath in the chairs. I have no idea what was going on as me as a kid. I was a weird kid.
You're fucking Sheldon Cooper.
Weird. Yeah, literally. Very strange. But going back to the room that I used to sleep in, I always go on about it to everyone that I swear that room is haunted in some way. Like I always like go on about it just being like a strange room. Yeah, so essentially, that room, I've always thought it was a weird room. There's sort of chilling vibes with it. And I don't know, I remember like, again, going back to what I was saying, like you hear lots of stories about ghosts and like sort of paranormal activity around kids more so than adults, and like you hear about it all the time, and it's really creepy. No one knows why. It's like, I remember watching loads of like episodes of Most Haunted. And dogs as well. Dogs can obviously detect, men to be able to detect. Like, that's what I was saying earlier, looking at shit into the distance. Like, stop it. Stop looking at that. Stop looking at the wall right now.
There is no ghost.
Yeah, stop looking right past me, you piece of shit. But
stop.
But yeah, as a kid, I remember sleeping in that room. I used to have like a bunk bed. It wasn't like a bunk bed because there wasn't anything underneath me, but it's just like a bed that was elevated essentially, right? And
a cabin bed.
Yeah, pretty much. And it had like it had a frame around it, right? So technically, like the covers couldn't fall off. Like for example, like right now, like my bed, right? It's like it's got the covers, right? So like that can come off, right? It would maybe get pulled down the night just randomly, right? If the weight's heavy down there. Whereas technically, if you've got a frame around it, if you can imagine it, the covers aren't going to get pulled off. They're enclosed within the bed. And I always remember there was a couple of times, and it was mainly when I was sick, when I was ill as a kid. Like if I wasn't very well, and I'd just be chilling in bed, and then all of a sudden,
I get the concept of being ill.
Yeah, I wasn't very well. I wasn't feeling good. And the covers would occasionally just get like pulled, like, and I would just be like sleeping in bed, and it would be pulled, and like not like massively, but it would be occasionally. And it would always be something
just tugging at the bottom.
Yeah. Never like so it was like someone was ripping off like because obviously I've heard stories about that as well and stuff. But like it was always something which was in the back of my mind.
Quills just whopped.
Yeah, just whopped off. I'd be like, shit, me, I'm not sleeping.
But
but yeah, no, I always remember it, and like I eventually like ended up like moving out of that room. Got bigger. As you do when you age, And I came.
You do tend to grow.
Yeah, you do grow. I came into this room, and we ended up like having a computer in that room before like I had my own shit in here. And I always remember, I'd be playing on games relatively late at night, after everyone's asleep. And I always used to think that room was just I don't know what it was about it. It was I never really like saw anything or like nothing like crazy happened, but it always just felt different, that room. Like it always felt cold. It always felt feeling. Yeah, like it was like you always had like a shortness of breath, and it just felt weird. Really? And like I think I've been in multiple places like that. Like I think that are just strange. Like just adding quickly. Actually, I tell you what, you go on and talk about what you want to talk about, because I've got another story that I can go on if we've got time for it. Yeah,
we'll fit it in somewhere.
But yeah,
fair enough. Well, I feel
Spooky.
like that kind of perfectly moves on to our third section, if you want to say, where it's kind of in the sense of like paranormal, like sort of like things you can't explain, aliens, all this stuff. Where it's like, you know what I mean? You think about it and you're like, how do you explain this? And I've got a couple of stories, and like obviously Proxy said himself, he's got a couple of stories as well. And one of the ones I remember the most was, and again it leads on to animals and kids. They're the fucking worst for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've got a sister. Yeah. So I've got a little sister, and I'll never forget this because I can't explain it. It's odd, and kids do see tend to say things. But anyways, so my mum and dad can back us up on this one as well, because she used to say it to them as well. Essentially, when she was really young, and I'm talking like maybe like 3 or 4, I don't know, maybe a bit older, but like really young. She used to be like, she'd be drawing pictures and that, like, you know, little girl would do. And then just one day she was just like, oh, mummy, what was it again? Like, oh, mummy, I want to go back to the white world. And we're just like, nanny? What?
What?
And my mum was just like, yeah, like, what? Sorry, the white world? And she's just like, yeah, like, before I was here, I used to live in the white world. And my mom's just like, fuck, like, what? That's so odd. And she used to, like, and I'm not like really young, so it's not as if it's just like she's been watching weird stuff or she's seeing things and she's just chatting shit. She had the story that before she was born, she used to live in a white world where everything was just white and it was just her and this other little girl. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So, like, as she got older, you know, as little kids do, she started, like, clearly lying and adding bits to it, being like, aye, and she was called Flower, and she smelt, and, like, all that bit was obviously bullshit, just kind of like the idea that she creeped us out. But when she was dead young, like, that was a solid story of, I used to live in the white world with a little girl, and she just came out of the blue and said that, and it's odd. How do you explain that to, like a little kid, like, saying that's so strange. Like, mommy, before I used to live in this house, I was in the white world. Weird, man.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that. It makes you question. Like, I know a lot of people, like, I don't know, do you believe in ghosts and that?
I was thinking about this earlier, in all honesty, because it's kind of weird. Because, like, as far as like religion goes, I'm kind of like very sort of agnostic with the whole thing. I'm not like religious at all, really.
Yeah. It's,
but with ghosts, I don't know. I think it's like I like to. Yeah, I would say I do. To be honest, I'd say like I definitely think there's like something.
You think there's something?
Yeah, like I think I've because like I said, I'll go on and tell you a story in a second. But I definitely think there's like something like there, 100%. Yeah.
There's just certain things you can't explain, and when you can't just be like, oh, well, it's a ghost. But at the same time, I don't know. I definitely believe there's something. I don't know. Like, you know how like fucking like Hollywood and that like portray ghosts now. It's like poor spooky poltergeist. Ooh. Like, nah, it's dumb. But like, I do believe there's something.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like I say, like, even if it's not to do with ghosts, but like when my sister was there, I used to live in the white world. It just makes you think, like,
how do they think of that sort of thing? Like, what have they seen? There's nothing they could have seen that could have put that into their head. Like, it's just a very sort of strange thought that, like, must have some sort of substance behind
specific.
it. Yeah, exactly. Like,
and that's very specific.
Yeah, 100%.
Which, and we've never been able to get a reasoning behind it. So I definitely believe that something like that. Either that or me fucking sister's like a poltergeist and just planning to kill us one day or something.
Yeah, maybe it's just like you don't have a sister, Jack. Like, what are you talking about? You've never had a sister.
What? Oh my god! Oh fuck!
Hold on, let me put like 2 seconds there.
Yeah, just...
What the fuck?
Which one you put?
I don't know. It was a weird laugh. Anyway, I wish you could hear them because it would make the experience.
Who's knocking up the door?
But no, literally, yeah, with like stuff like paranormal. Anyway, yeah, paranormal stuff. Pretty much, my gran has a caravan in Scotland. It's on Loch Lomond, right? Loch Lomond, top of Loch Lomond, and back when I was younger, she used to have dogs as well. She used to have 2 Labradors. And there are obviously lots of little islands across the whole of Loch Lomond. Tons of them. Just little tiny islands that you can go on. You can.
Whereabouts is that?
It's like up from Glasgow. Loch Lomond's like like probably like a 40. Well, it's probably only like about a 20-minute drive from Glasgow to the south, to the very bottom of Loch Lomond. To get to the top, it's probably more like 45-50 minutes.
Yeah. I've got a pal that lived on like one of the Scottish islands. Yeah, he lives in Barra. And it's like it's fucking like you look at the map, it's like that big, it's tiny, but it's a quite nice place. So
yeah, but it's a really beautiful place in Scotland. You know, the scenery up there is insane. But like I said, on the loch,
mountains and shit.
Yeah, on the loch there are these tiny little islands, and my granddad had a boat on Loch Lomond as well, right? So we used to go out.
Wow. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was always good. We used to go and we used to name the islands, right? So we had a couple of like stupid names. I always remember there was this one where we went to where there was just a load of dead seagulls on it one one time, so it was Dead Seagull Island. That was the name of the island.
Dead Seagull.
No idea why, but there was this island that we called Spooky Island, right? And it was always a strange island because there was like ruins on it. And bear in mind, this is a really small island, not big. It was kind of ruins. It looked like some sort of like monastery.
You could probably shout, and the echo would go at the other end of the island.
Yeah, literally. And like it was like a sort of a monastery sort of thing, right? Still to this day, I don't know what it is. Still to this day, like I have no clue what it is. But essentially, we would obviously always explore the islands and see if there's anything around, and the dogs would as well, right? You know, obviously dogs are dogs. They like run around just seeing everything.
Curiosity, fucking. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I always remember the very like, you know, the first times we'd go, like they would always, you know, run around and we'd be looking around, then all of a sudden the dogs would just start barking. And it was weird because it's like, why would they do that for? There's no one else on the island. There's no like animals or anything, right? It's like, why did they?
There's nothing for them to bark at.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so, you know, then you'd go with the dogs and be like, oh, what's the matter? So they found like to get into the central area of this ruin essentially, right? And it was like the sort of like middle of like what I would say would be like a sort of, you know, like maybe a prayer room or something. And essentially there was this dark sort of like hole at the side which went underground, right? And it was pitch black. And one of the dogs was just barking at the hole, like directly into the hole, into the black hole, barking at it. And like it was just weird. And I remember my granddad went into the hole, right? And the dogs would follow him anywhere, right? They would go, they would literally go anywhere he went. And they refused to go in there. They would not go in for love nor money. Regardless, I remember they took treats for them to come into the hole and they just wouldn't go in. No way they would ever go into that hole. And it was just, that to me is always one of the stories that I always tell, you know, when it comes to like believing in ghosts. Is that like there must be something there why they wouldn't go? Because they go in dark places. They go in dark places, especially when like it's, you know, especially when it's they follow like their owners, you know, because they're loyal animals. They'll go wherever. Yeah, of course. But then it was even when you offer them incentive to go somewhere, they still refuse to do it. They still be like, no, I am not.
If you're giving your dog a treat, it's gonna do as it's told because 100%. They fucking love those treats. But if it's refusing and not go down a hole, which is like a normal thing for a dog to do, there's got to be a reason behind that. Like, it's odd. It's an odd one.
And I remember, like, recently, we like my gran sold the caravan for a while, and then she recently just bought one again. So we went up maybe a couple of years ago. And obviously, she doesn't have any dogs anymore. But obviously, we wanted to go back to Spooky Island just because we were a bit older. I wanted to have a look around and see what it was. And I remember going to the hole myself. It's a cool place, actually. Yeah, no, it's cool. And I remember going to the hole myself, and it's not very big. It's obviously I would have to be crouched down. I'm quite tall anyway, so like I'd have to be pretty low, sort of thing, right? And
how low can you go?
It gave me the same feeling that I described earlier with that my room, right? It was even on a warm day, it was so cold and like sort of like, I don't know, it felt like it was like even breathing, like it felt like there was something like not there, and it felt like it was just like sort of a very sort of and I always remember the dogs like literally just hating that place, and I just think it's really interesting. Like looking at stuff
that
like
does really interest me as well when you think about that sort of thing. Like, because there's not one single person that could have a full-on explanation why that was a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There'll be theories and shit, but no, like you couldn't hit like a nail on the head and be like, that's the reason, that's why that happened. So like that does fascinate me as well. Like even if you yourself was saying that, like it just felt off in that room.
Yeah.
Like why did it feel off in that room? Do you know what I mean?
It's just how they guess, and it's a weird like sort of like feeling that I think just like, you know, it's almost sends shivers down your spine at times. That it's like so like such a strange sort of place. Yeah, it's very weird, very very weird. But I think that's probably like the weirdest story I probably have that I can explain with ghosts.
If you can't explain.
Yeah, well I can't explain. Yeah, so it's
no, you can't.
But
very strange. Anyways, on that note, I think we've been going for quite a bit now. We should probably try and wrap it up then. Looking at the time, I think we're just coming over the hour a bit now. So
I think so. Probably just a little bit over an hour. So
over an hour. I will wrap it up. Anyways, so that we talk about some spooky stories, some personal experiences, games, movies, bit of everything in the Halloween spirit. Maybe I kind of wish we dressed up, to be honest now.
Yeah.
But there's always next year.
There's always next year. Like I said,
There's always next
I
year.
feel very unprepared. There's literally nothing in my house to like dress up as. I literally had like some like stupid mask, and that was literally it. So I'll be ready next year. We'll have a good one going next year.
Well prepared. You've got a year to
100%.
prep for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so first episode. I think we plan and we're going to do plenty of these. It's a bit of fun for us. At the end of the day, we enjoy it. We enjoy telling stories. We enjoy having a drink, and it's kind of like as well. I think we've just been announcing Lockdown 2 Electric Boogaloo. For me personally, like through lockdown, like the original lockdown, I did struggle a bit, and I liked watching these type of videos and like podcasts where it's like just hearing people have a laugh, have some interesting stories, have a drink with someone. It was great. Do you know what I mean? So it is a thing that maybe like every couple of weeks, every few weeks, we'll pop out a new video, and I should be a laugh. We'll see where it goes from there, really, won't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you're saying, I think probably we'll try and aim maybe like every couple of weeks. So it's I think definitely with lockdown, like you said, lockdown 2 coming up, we'll hopefully be able to get some more stuff out. We'll have nothing else to do, so might as well. Might as well. So yeah, we're gonna try and like obviously at the minute, the design of the actual podcast hopefully change around a bit. It's just stuff that we already have. But yeah, thanks for watching the first episode of PatterCast. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've got any suggestions, just let us know in the comments. And
100%. We'll try and get some like guests on that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Hell yeah,
100%. Share stories. So yeah, sounds good. We're eventually we're saying that we're gonna try and like make some like socials and that as well. So probably when this comes out, we'll have like sort of like social media platform and that. So we'll post updates on those really. So the next time it goes up, obviously subscribe, like, comment.
We couldn't start with the cringe, but we've got to end with a cringe. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Smash the fucking bell. Notifications. Alright, anyways, so that's it. We'll see you next time we decide to do something then.
Yeah, cheers guys. See you
Thank
later.
very much. Ta-ra.